sir?
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Okay. Should I begin or should I wait?
No, ma'am. 6 minutes left from 4 p.m. We will start.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, good evening, teachers. Uh, and Shania ma'am, you can start now, ma'am, because it's 4 p.m.
Okay, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, is the screen visible to each one of you?
Yes, screen is also visible.
Okay. So, good evening and good evening, Principal Sir, Coordinator Ma'am, Senior Coordinator Ma'am, Mrs. Barita Basu, Rita Mishra Ma'am, Rakesh Pandey Sir, and all other teachers present in the meeting. Today, I'm going to present a slide on gender sensitivity in schools. It is about making you aware about the gender issues in school. We as teachers are facilitators, we are not just teachers, we are facilitators of change. We bring about change in a child's life. It is said that a class teacher plays a very important role in the life of a student, but we do not we lag behind in understanding that gender sensitivity or gender issues are also important. We need to instill in a child the understanding of what is gender and how to be sensitive towards it. So gender sensitivity in school comes in classes in every part of school after it is acknowledged by a teacher. So it is very important for a teacher to understand what is gender sensitivity. So this in-house training basically will be explaining you about the gender sensitivity in school. Before I begin with what is gender sensitivity and other issues related to it, I would like to give you all a situation where we will act immediately. And the first situation is Neha is a 4-year-old girl. We all the teachers of KHS are invited to Neha's birthday party. We are asked to give a birthday present to Neha. What would be an appropriate birthday present according to you? You can just instantly type in the chat box. Yes, teachers, it would be of a great help if you can type what birthday gift you would like to give to Neha, a 4-year-old child. The present should be individually presented. Okay. Books accounts to a test, then storybooks. Yes. Can I get some more answers? Teachers, could you please be kind enough and type some answers? What would be an instant gift that comes in your mind to a girl child of 4-year-old? Color box, follow me, teacher. Yes, it's a good option. Okay, let's just move on to the next slide. The first one talks about Neha. She's a 4-year-old girl. Most of the answers are books, color box, and the second situation is again KHS staffs are called to Rahul's birthday party, and he is a 5-year-old boy. Oh, it's mistyped. He is a 5-year-old boy. Okay, so what gift would be appropriate for Rahul? It would be kind of you all if you can just type it in the chat box and instantly what comes to your mind. Okay, tiffin box. Okay, let's just focus on this matter. This same situation was given to the Equality Club students of Kasidih High School. The 4-year-old girl Neha, they instantly chose a gift for Neha that was either a Barbie doll or a color box or books. And for Rahul, it was either a doctor set or car. So this is what is a construct. This is what we unknowingly construct the society. There, we do not understand that we are serving to a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old child what he should love or what he should be interested in. We unknowingly serve them and we unknowingly create gender stereotypes. Gender sensitivity, today's topic, basically would make you more aware of certain gender issues which are there in society, which must be acknowledged by us as teachers, because we it can be it is not necessarily for us as teachers, but we are the facilitators of change. So if we have more knowledge about these sensitive issues, we would nurture a child in that particular way. Now, what is the difference between gender and sex? Sex is assigned to an individual by birth. It is a biological term. Gender is what a person identify himself or herself to be. It can vary from person to person. A boy he may want to wear a earring in his ears. A girl may want to wear a boxer, whichever thing they want to be according to the society. So gender is what a person identifies himself or herself as. It varies from society to society. Gender is a biological term, whereas so sex is a biological term, whereas gender is a social construct. When we talk about sex, it is more of what it is, a male or a female. Then when we talk about gender categories, it is masculine or feminine. Now, as this whole in-house training is about what is gender sensitivity, let's just come into gender sensitivity. But before going into gender sensitivity, let's just focus on certain things that women there are certain things that we do not acknowledge in society. For example, that women are expected to take care of family, and man is supposed to take care of the financial needs of a family. So these things need to change. In order to understand that, gender sensitivity is an important tool which helps us in raising awareness about gender stereotype and cultivating a disposition to behave in a gender sensitive manner. What are the main basic what are the main basic points of gender sensitivity? It is an act of being sensitive and aware to the way people think about gender. Firstly, understanding, having a complete knowledge about gender, then making them sensitive and aware about it, relying less on assumptions of traditional views about the roles of men and women. This again, like I said, women is expected to work in kitchen. Women was expected to work in kitchen, and man was actually taken to be a go-getter. He had all the responsibility on his shoulder to go out and get the financial income into the house by working hard. So this again, relying on assumption of traditional views about the role of men and women. being informed about gender equality. You can only be sensitive towards the gender issues when you are informed, completely informed about the gender equality. Gender equality is actually the need of the hour. It actually tries to focus that in this world, we are all born as humans. It's the social construct that has given certain qualities or certain roles to men and women. It's the division. It can be on the basis of the traditional views or past experiences, but it is constructed by society, which can be reconstructed. Now, the story of Latika. Am I audible to each one of you? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. You are
Okay.
audible
Okay.
and screen
Now,
is
in
also
order to
visible.
become more sensitive towards gender biased issues or gender issues, let's just focus on this 14-year-old girl, Latika. Latika is a 14-year-old girl who lives in Tamil Nadu, goes to a government school. She enjoys studying, and going to school is her only dream. She's the most happiest when she's in school. She's good in her studies and often gets good grades. And the teacher doesn't stays back from saying that Latika, you're brilliant with your results, and you will get scholarship someday because you're just at a growing age, and you'll get scholarship for college, and I will ensure that for you. This is a statement that Latika's teacher gives her. Okay, so on being elated, on hearing this, she is elated. She goes back home, tells her father and uncle. She lives in a Ongul district of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, she goes back to her father and uncle, and she says, I will get scholarship to study in a college. So here, her happiness is not she's not holding herself back from her happiness. Therefore, she went back to her home and she said, I will get a scholarship to study in college. Instead of being happy, the father and the uncle, they said, going to college is of no use for girls. They just replied in this way. They said, after all, you have to get married and have children. And who would want to spend more money in giving dowry to a more educated bridegroom? So this is this is the construction of the thought process is this. So we can understand that instead of being happy, he is rather telling him to not study. Okay. So after hearing Latika's story, there are some questions for reflection. Is a girl's purpose in life limited to growing up, getting married, and having children? How would this attitude affect Latika's life later? Will she be independent, or will she be fearless? No. This would change everything for her. Had Latika been a boy, what would have been her father's decision? Because he said that who would give dowry for a more educated bridegroom? So now here we understand that the social construct is somewhere need to be re-established. Why do we have different norms and rules for boys and girls? Why are boys allowed to continue higher education while girls are pulled out of studies either for domestic help or to get married? So these are the questions for reflection. We need to understand that these things. Why I'm focusing on questions for reflection, because we as teachers, we are actually going to change. We have the power to change the world. We are actually having the strongest sceptre of mankind to change the world. If we change at least one child, that one child further is going to have a good mindset and change the world and make this world a better place. Next is the story. Now, that was the story of a 14-year-old girl, Latika. This is the story of David. David is also 14-year-old boy. He is a child labor. He wishes to go to get educated, but he's a child labor. He lives, his story begins in Congo. He's from Congo. I hope everyone knows where is Congo. It's in Africa. It is one of the major site of cobalt. It is having major cobalt mines. 70% of the cobalt throughout world is exported from Congo. And this cobalt is utilized in electric batteries, the electric vehicles. Okay, the batteries of the electric vehicles. So how they take out the cobalt from the mines? They take out the cobalt from the mines with their hands. There's no other way to take out the cobalt. They dig the long dungeons and they go in tunnels, and this is the only way to take out the cobalt. Once what happened, he lost his father to these mines. He went inside for work and he never came back. On that During that time, her mother was pregnant with a child, and David had no other option than to go out and work for surviving, for the survival of himself and for the child in a mother's womb and mother herself. So we can understand that the story of Latika and story of David is different. But there are certain questions of reflection which are similar. Questions for reflection. Is it a boy's task to take over financial responsibility of a family? What was Why was a 14-year-old boy told not to cry on losing his father? The mother told not to cry. This is what happens in the society. A child is told, a boy is generally told, don't cry, you're strong. Then again, when he grows up, it is the psychological fact. Psychology says when you suppress your emotions in some way, it comes out in a certain other way. When you keep suppressing and don't cry, it comes out in anger. So this is the main reason for domestic violence in many parts of India. So we should never tell a child not to cry. We should rather tell him, sit beside me, speak your heart out, but don't keep things within your heart. Why do society has different rules for boys and not for women? Had David been a boy, what would have been the case? Had David been a girl, what would have been the case? If David would have been a girl, then it would have been a different case for her. But he is a boy and he had to go out. If he would have been a girl, then things would have been different. He might not be working there in the cobalt mines. He also had the risk of losing his life like his father, but still he worked hard. Now, these are the certain facts about life, certain stories. From the stories only we extract the understanding of gender issues. And we become more and more sensitive towards them. Gender is a social construct. When we talk about gender, it is not a biological term, as I've already said. It is a social construct. Women are expected to take care of family and domestic duties and remain close to home. These are all constructed. All men are expected to work and earn money for the family. Again, the same. Boys are better in mathematics than girls. They cry easily. Boys never cry. Girls are very emotional. Women usually do housework. All these things come under the umbrella term of gender, the understanding of gender, and that it is a social construct. Gender describes social roles in relation between man and women in society. It is it can be one's choice. Gender changes over time, and it refers to all aspects of life. It is assigned to behaviors and action that are expected from men and women. Moving on to the next slide, it is very important for a teacher to understand what is the basic gender specific terms. Without understanding, without having awareness of what is gender equality or gender specific terms, you will not be sensitive towards gender, the matters related to gender. So, in order to put the key in the lock of understanding what is gender sensitivity, each one of you are supposed to understand the gender specific terminology. The first one is gender equality. Gender equality, when we talk about gender equality, equal treatment for men and women in law and policies, and equal access to resource and services within families, communities, and the society at large. We cannot think about just about the men to be having equal rights or women to have equal rights. It's about both male and female. Now when we talk about gender equality, it is more about having equal rights and responsibilities and opportunities. For example, if we talk about the maternity leave, in America they have started. The maternity leave is being given to man also, just to take care of mother, how a mother nurtures a child within the womb, to understand the pain she passes through. So equality is not just in rights, it's in responsibility and opportunity. Only these things can be instilled in society when the person who is actually the driving force is aware of all these things. And we teachers are the driving force. We are the facilitators. As I said, why I said facilitators, we are the facilitators of change. We bring about change. Any change we want to bring in society, we can just work on the 40 students that have been assigned to us. We can change the world for better. Next one is gender equity. Fairness and justice in distribution of benefits and responsibility between men and women is gender equity. It is more of the, it is, this is the concept to recognize that men and women have different needs and power, and that these differences should be identified and addressed in manner that rectifies the imbalance between the sexes. To remove the imbalance is what gender equity is. So let's just move on to this next slide, that is gender discrimination. Gender discrimination, when we talk about gender discrimination, it actually begins with the stereotypes. Any distinction, exclusion, or restriction made on the basis of socially constructed gender roles and norms, which prevent a person from enjoying full human rights. In a society, discrimination is a common feature in our lives, in the lives of men, women, girls, boys, anyone you choose. From cradle to grave, there is a discriminated, we are all discriminated on some basis, some topics, or some issues. So, some of them are abortion of female fetus through sex determination. So the basic determination after the sonography was invented, it became easier for them to understand what sex the child is having. So they aborted the child when they got to know that the child is a female. Denial of sufficient food, denial of education, okay, denial in accessing healthcare when necessary, early marriage of girl child, eve teasing, sexual assault or harassment, dowry, divorce, destitution for trivial reasons. All these are gender discrimination. This is the reason that
Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Gaston, looking around in the dumps. Every guy here'd love to be you, Gaston, even when taking your lumps. There's no man in town as admired as you. You're everyone's favorite guy. Everyone's awed and inspired by you. And it's not very hard to see why. No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's next as incredibly thick as Gaston. Perfect, a pure paragon. You can ask any clown, Dick or Stanley, and they'll tell you whose team they prefer to be on. No one's big like Gaston, acting big like Gaston. No one's got a swell cleft in his chin like Gaston.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidated.
Gaston is the best and the rest is all the rest. Like Gaston, now six like Gaston.
The rest that's nobody fights like Gaston.
For there's no one as burly and naughty.
As you see, I've got biceps to spare.
Not a bit of him scraggly or scrawny.
That's right, and every last inch of me's covered with hair. No one gets like Gaston.
In a spitting match, nobody spits like Gaston.
I'm especially good at expectorating. When I was a lad, I ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help me get large. And now that I'm grown, I eat 5 dozen eggs, so I'm roughly the size of...
Okay, so here we understood that Gaston was so motivated in becoming something that he did not want it to be, but it turns out what he was served. He was served with the mindset of becoming the most strongest man, and he becomes that, and he shows others. He follows those ideas which was served to him. At that moment, he was very low, but then he turned out to be strong. Then the next word that the teachers must be aware is socialization. The term is used to stand for the means or process by which girls and boys are trained to fit in what a given society values as being male or female. Given society, say for village, community, school, peer group, or family. These include proverbs, storytelling, myths, books, and rewarding system. This would help them to become more sensitive towards gender issues. For instance, who is given a mirror as a gift to congratulate? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. For instance, a girl who is given a mirror as a gift to congratulate her upon her academic skill excellence is indirectly reminded of beauty as something to look at. When a boy is given mathematics set, he is indirectly guided to think of using this. Thus, while the girl's attention is the boy's attention is more focused on books. So this is what socialization is. It can be changed by a teacher. It can be instilled in a child by a teacher, what the child should be in a school. Gender inequality. When we talk about the terms, the gender specific terms, gender inequality is very important to be understood by each one of us. Unfair and imbalanced outcome for girls and boys, women and men arise in our school, families, villages, etc. because of unfair and imbalanced amount of power, resources, and opportunities placed before girls and boys. So unequal distribution of opportunities. There something has to change. Gender gap, gender discrimination, and gender oppressions are the components of gender inequality in school. When there is gender discrimination, the girl cannot do this and a boy can do this, or a boy can do this and a girl cannot do this, it begins from there. When we say that ladki ho ke aisa karti ho, we are actually we should not use such words for in schools basically. Then the next one is the next one is gender gap. The video explains the gender gap. This refers to the quantifiable signs of gender inequality in our society, schools and families. How this woman struggled to just make a position for herself in the society. She attained that position, but had it been earlier, she would have gained much, she would have covered much of the world with her qualities. Then we come to the gender relations. Gender relation refers to the relationship between man and women acquired through the process of socialization in terms of power sharing, decision making, and division of labor within the household and in society in at large. These actually come in a child later, but it must be there within the mindset of a teacher. These ideas and thought must be there in the mindset of a teacher. Next, we go to the next slide. That's gender roles. Gender roles, they are the activities and duties seen suitable for girls and boys in given society, families and culture and religion. Girls and boys learned their assumed roles and duties through their day-to-day interaction with their parents, educators, peers, and other people around them. Women duties and involvement in the house chores are not considered worth any payment. So this is a matter to think upon. In some company, only we hear that women employee are paid less in comparison to the male counterparts. This has made women and girls seem less important in society, whereas their work supports almost all human life. This is one of the sign of gender inequality that is sought to be changed through raising gender awareness. And it would not begin 10 years later. It begins today. The awareness, being aware of everything related to gender. We must begin it today. Gender stereotype. As we talk about gender stereotype, it is one of the basic strong point in the umbrella term gender. As child grows up, they constantly absorb messages that the society throws at them. Families, schools, medias, etc. Everywhere they are just trying to absorb what they're grasping whatever they're getting. Now, when we talk about these things, this process of socialization, this is actually the process of socialization. The socialization process begins at a very early age. As child, boys get toys like trucks, guns, superheroes, while the girls are given dolls and cooking set. This changes, this constructs their mind in a certain way. They show a way and they tell them that this is the way you need to follow. This conditioning manipulates young minds into believing that they must act within the given parameters or given place. You have to be within the periphery of the given idea in the society. This constant portrayal, such as in the media, conversations, jokes, or books of women and men occupying social roles according to a traditional gender role or division of labor. For example, women cannot be good engineers in it is actually one of the greatest stereotype that women cannot be engineers. They've scaled Mount Everest. They have been the presidents. They've just conquered almost half the world. They're no less, but the stereotype remains. That is what remains. They have gone a lot ahead. What remains behind is the stereotype. Now, in a number of children's textbooks, for example, women are seen as cleaners, caregivers, and nurses, and men are seen as drivers, doctors, and leaders. Such images, we teachers, when we go into teaching these things, we actually with the help of these images, we reinforce the gender roles, which are socially constructed and in a way make girl feel that they cannot aspire for the top professional position. Girl who do not conform to stereotypical expectation can experience criticism, even violence. This is the case in today's world. This also puts unwarranted pressure on boys who love to read, dislike fighting, or support, or they want to support their family by giving them a domestic help. They don't want to go. We can take the example from the movie that came out a few years back, The Car and Key, which actually focus on the gender stereotypical roles. Now, similarly, it hurts girls who struggle with body images and who wish to excel in sports. Gender equality benefits both boys and girls. It's not just for one gender. It's not just for a female. It's for the male as well. Working towards gender equality will enable them to be themselves, to shine bright with the colors they already have, instead of being bounded by a rigid gender role structure. Now, let's just move on to the next slide. This video is for you to understand that how a gender stereotypical role is
Are you
assigned.
feeling unloved,
to-
unsupported, uncared? And because of this, you're feeling so low that it.
Veronica,
I'm here, baby.
listen, babe. We need to talk. Wow. What's going on?
ऐसी लग रही हूँ?
Nice.
वो तो obviously, but marriage material, the sweet Indian bride.
मेरी माँ क्या कर रही है तेरे साथ?
अब देखो, अगर मैं ऐसे ही कपड़े पहन, अपने बाल ग्रो कर, get groomed in the Indian way. In short, अगर मैं मीरा जैसी बन जाऊँ, तो you think माँ मुझे accept करेगी?
किस चीज के लिए accept?
You know,
No, I don't know. Hey, listen, Veronica. No. Wow. Where is this coming from? What's going on? शादी वादी का तो कभी था ही नहीं हमारा यार.
पर हो सकता है I know तुम शादी माँ की choice है तो I'll become that choice. Done.
So this actually tells us that a woman is trying to be something just to fit in the society, just to follow the rules or the roles that she has been assigned to, or you can say the image that has been created. She's trying to fit into that image. Social construction is the next point which we must be aware of. It is a process through which a given community assigns or institutionalizes or and legitimizes gender roles. Next one is gender mainstreaming. This means consistent integration of gender concerns into the development and implementation of policies, plans, programs, projects at all levels. All levels means not just in school level, throughout the world, in every sphere, every part of the world, every aspect. Next is femininity. It is supposed distinct way of acting and feeling of woman. It comprises of the characteristics claimed by society to constitute femaleness as opposed to the maleness by acting to fit many other characteristics. Women and girls often limit their potential, especially in areas such as education. They try to be what the world has already served them. They think that this is what they can be. They cannot move out of the periphery of the thought process they have been served. So this, when we talk about the next point, it is the patriarchy, an ideology or social, you can say it is more of a social system that propagates male supremacy and superiority of men over women as natural and God-given. So you can see the image says, of course, girls and boys are equal, but the picture in the textbook says otherwise. Gender neutral. Gender neutral is again a issue, or you can say a matter to understand. It tells us, it claims some people, the claim that some people make when they want to represent themselves as not practicing gender-based discrimination. Next is gender blindness, the failure to recognize the difference between male and female, leading to the failure to provide for the difference. Gender awareness. This is what we are actually focusing on, gender awareness. In order to be gender sensitive, you have to be first gender aware of almost everything about the gender. A teacher must be aware of everything related to gender. It implies on the ability to identify problems arising from the inequality and discrimination. When will we understand about the problems? Only when we have understood about the whole construct of what is exactly gender. Even if these are not apparent on the surface, gender awareness opens up to the wider possible range of life options for men and women. Gender sensitiveness. This is the ability to recognize gender issues. This comes towards the end. Just imagine, I began the slides and this is the 17th point. Gender sensitiveness comes only after understanding all the points that I have right now discussed. So it is a way forward to gender awareness and more towards gender responsiveness, resulting in designing and appropriately mechanizing for addressing the inequality between girls and boys. Gender sensitivity is not just about comparing boys to girls. On contrary, any education that is gender sensitive benefits members of both sexes. It helps them determine which assumption is a matter of gender are valid and which are stereotype generalization. The last point is gender empowerment, which is very important in today's world. Empowerment actually means it goes to the word power. It is used in most developmental initiatives to stand for the need for those who are oppressed and powerless to challenge oppressive structures. In gender terms, it especially focuses on the girls' and women's ability to have access and control in all societal aspects. They can be social, economical, and political as well. Interventions which can make a school gender sensitive. This is very important for us to understand. Girls are empowered to express themselves freely and confidently within and outside school. When a teacher is aware of all the gender issues or all the ideas that come under the umbrella term of gender, the teacher is going to make an environment for girls to feel free. So that is what it is written. In a gender sensitive school, there would be girls and they would be empowered to express themselves freely and confidently within and outside the school. The school community has a good level of awareness towards gender issue. The school community basically begins with the teachers. The educators apply gender equality principles in the academic processes. Girls and boys equally participate in indoors and outdoor sports. There are instances when boys are just playing football and girls are sitting under the tree near our staff room. So we must force them, or not force them, we must try to make them more aware of the equality and make them go and play together. School has a policy and mechanism to address violence perpetrated by teachers and students. It must be there. When gender sensitive issues the lines are crossed, educators are trained to address and mitigate different forms of violence. This must be there. The school environment encourages girls to bring out their full academic potential in all the subjects, particularly in science and mathematics. The school addresses the issues of needs of girls through provisions of scholarship. Now, dropout rates are lowered in school. That's a gender-sensitive school, a community where there is active involvement. Gender-sensitive physical facilities are available, separate toilets, water sanitization, guidance and counseling services are available, where at least the child can go and speak out rather than just suppressing the emotion. Education has been trained in skills necessary for gender-sensitive teaching. School management and gender-sensitive approach. Role of management in establishing gender-sensitive school. This is very important. It is very important to understand the role of management in gender-sensitive schools. There must be the main purpose should be to provide appropriate teaching and learning material and management that inducts educators in imparting gender-sensitive pedagogy, to formulate, apply, and monitor rules and regulations that will transform the school into gender-sensitive environment, to provide necessary human resource for efficient management and governance of the school. It is also to sensitize the human community about the importance of girl education, to provide gender-sensitive physical facilities in school, to arrange and conduct orientation programs for teachers on gender sensitivity. So this in-house training is kind of orientation to the gender sensitivity. It will give you a more awareness about certain terms and certain aspects that come under the gender sensitivity. Gender sensitivity lesson planning must be there. It is very important to understand the gender sensitive lesson planning. Quality is in a lesson plan depends on thorough and effective planning. We all know that. Lesson planning involves a wide range of decision making. The learning material to use, methodology, content, learning activities, etc. These are all things, whereas many educators have the skill to develop good plans. Making the plan gender sensitive requires a special set of skills and attitude. A gender sensitive lesson plan takes into consideration the specific needs of girls and boys in all teaching learning process. So we must focus on that. Next is teaching and learning material. It is important to review the teaching and learning material for gender sensitiveness. Basically, does the material contains gender stereotype? Whatever we are using for explaining, we must focus on that. If so, what techniques can be used to address them? For example, a situation faced with the history textbooks that they portray only male freedom fighters, and male freedom fighters draw up a list of they just focus on male freedom fighter. When we are explaining this, we can just focus on telling the students about the female freedom fighters too. If a science textbook portrays only male scientists as inventor, a teacher can include the female scientist by making them aware of the both man and women active participation in the progress of science. By doing this, as an educator, you will be able to encourage both girls and boys to aspire for all the professional courses, not just science and social science. Teaching methodology. The next one is teaching methodology, which focuses also on selecting teaching methodology that will ensure equal participation of both boys and girls. Some teaching methodology actually can be used like group discussion, role play, debate, case study, exploration, and demonstration can be effective in encouraging students' participation. The participation should be of both boys and girls equal, and it will therefore give the girls also the equal opportunity to act more actively, to be a part of it, act more actively. In this practice, we can take care that the dominant individual do not shadow less assertive one. By doing this, as an educator, you will feel that you're promoting equal participation and finally improving the learning outcome. Next, in gender sensitive school is teaching learning activities. The lesson plan should make an allowance. It should have a proper section for the learners to participate in the learning activity. When doing a particular practical of science experiment, for instance, you can ensure both boys and girls have a chance to use the equipments in the chemistry lab or the physics lab. They should also be equally participating in such activities and making presentations. When assigning projects, ensure both are given leadership roles, rather than only the male or only the female, so that they become more aware about themselves and their abilities and they excel in what is given to them. Then there is classroom environment and interaction to make a gender sensitive, in order to make a gender sensitive school, you can just focus on the classroom environment and interaction. The lesson plan should also, you must focus on this. The lesson plan should also consider the classroom setup, consider how to arrange the classroom and interact with the students in a way that will promote equal participation of boys and girls. We should plan in advance so that things go well. Next is management of gender constraints to learning. Allow time to deal with gender specific problems, if any, such as a girl who has missed class due to puberty issues, household chores, or family responsibility. Watch for indicators of bullying, harassment, adolescent hormonal upheaval, and peer pressure, among others. These are what we must focus on as teachers. Then is feedback and assessment. Feedback and assessment, we must take time. Not just time, we must take adequate time for the feedback of both boys and girls to ensure that boys and girls both are understood and the lesson is also taking place in a proper way. Transaction of curricular areas. Now, while transacting various subjects like language, mathematics, and other subjects, the educator should see to it that her teaching is gender biased free. It's not gender biased. It's not gender biased while portraying anything. Then the teaching language. It's very important to focus on the teaching language. Teaching language is very important. You should never use "tum ladki hoke aisa karogi, tum ladke hoke pass nahi hue." These all sentences we people use in schools. It's frequently used. We must not use it. They would think of themselves beneath someone. Next is the UNESCO guidelines, which is very important for an educator to keep in mind, to be sensitive, to have the idea of gender sensitivity within his mindset. First one is avoid gendered language. Don't use language that would make one gender more above or beneath another. Create a sense of mutual respect and dignity, cooperation, sharing, and responsibility. This is what we instill in them as a child. That's what they take further. If we talk about this, we can just focus on this one thing. That we as teachers, we can do a lot to change the world by changing just a child or just 40 students that we get for a year. So we must create a sense of mutual respect. They must know that as an individual, you must respect every other individual, no matter what the caste, creed, or the gender or the sex. A better place to live in. You have to make a world, or if you're working in a confined area like a school or a class, you're working in a particular class, make sure that students come happily to that class. It's a better place to live in for them. Encourage gender equality. They must be aware of what is gender equality. Gender equality, a teacher must be aware first what is gender equality. Then only she can impart that education to others. Create a happy space where a child can express freely. So this UNESCO's guideline of 2022 is for educators to be sensitive towards, to be in a gender sensitive school, is create a happy space where a child can freely express himself or herself. This is very important. It is said that we mothers, we teachers mold the child. It is actually what it is, what is said, and it is actually accepted as a universal fact that teachers mold the child into becoming a better human being. So first we create a happy space where a child can be happy and freely express himself. Then make him aware of the respect that he or she is going to give to others, and make him aware that when you respect others, that is what comes back. It's like a boomerang. Now, gender sensitivity is the first step toward making this world a better place. John Money is one of the person who focuses on gender issues. He wrote the sentence, gender sensitivity is the first step towards making this world a better place. It is actually one of the truest sentences I've ever came across. Because gender sensitivity, when you talk about gender sensitivity, you need to go through those 18 to 20 terms to understand, actually be sensitive towards the umbrella term of gender. So gender sensitivity is actually the first step towards making this world a better place. Because if a teacher is molded into becoming a better person through the orientations or through learning, then we can understand that what changes a teacher can bring. As I said, a teacher always holds the strongest sceptre of mankind. The teacher has the power to change the world, the power to facilitate change. We are actually educators, teachers, molders. The world need us today because the world need change that is for better. So with this, I would like to take you to the concluding slide that says, let the change begin within and around you. Thank you. I hope if there is any doubt in discussion, you may ask the questions.
Very, very good one. Very good and well defined.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Good work, Shania. The slide was very presentable. Things was very nicely presented.
Thank you
Good.
so much, sir.
Nicely presented, Shania, and it was very informative.
Thank you so much.